Welcome friends. Today we will solve biochemistry previous year's questions of CSIR NET December 2019. This is the first question. B form of DNA has 10 base pairs per turn and A form of DNA has 2.3 angstrom helix rise per base pair. Both the A and B form of DNA have wider major groove and narrow minor groove. The crystalline nature of cellulose is brought about by alpha 1,4 linkage between the glucose subunit. The double bond in natural lipid are always cis, which provides fluidity to the plasma membrane. Which one of the following combination represent the correct statement? So friends, first of all, we need to know that this crystalline cellulose, the bond in the cellulose structure is alpha 1,4 or beta 1,4. So remember, when it's a crystalline nature of cellulose, then it is alpha 1,4. Okay, but for the normal cellulose structure, when it is not crystalline, then it is beta 1,4. But when it is crystalline cellulose, then it is alpha 1,4 linkage. Okay, natural lipids, it's saying that natural lipids are always in cis structure. We remember that the natural lipids have both cis and trans structure. Okay, so the D statement is incorrect because natural lipid have both trans and cis structure. So wherever D is there, we will cut it. Now C is correct because it's present in both 1 and 2. Now number B. Both A and B form of the DNA have wider major groove. We know that B have wider major groove. But the A form of DNA have a narrow major groove. Okay, this difference you all remember. Okay, now so number B is wrong. So wherever B is there, this is wrong. Now A is right, but we will read the statement. B form of DNA has 10 base pair per turn and A form of DNA has 2.3 angstrom helix rise per base pair. Okay, so this is absolutely correct. A form have 2.3 angstrom helix rise and B form have 3.4 angstrom helix rise. I think you all know this. So A is correct and C is correct. So friends, remember crystalline is alpha 1,4 and this the normal cellulose is beta 1,4. So option number A is correct. Now the second question, the following observations are made on a 30 residue polypeptide. Okay. Number A statement says that unordered structure is observed in water but a helical conformation is observed in a medium of low dielectric constant. So these are the characteristics given of the 30 residue polypeptide. Okay, the polypeptide shows unordered structure in water but helical conformation it shows in the medium of low dielectric constant. Now the peptide is resistant to degradation by protease. It is not degraded by protease. Red blood cells are lysed by the peptide. Beta mercaptophenol has no effect on peptide structure. Which one of the following statements can be correctly attributed to the above observation? It is saying that is the peptide entirely composed of D amino acid or L amino acid? If it's D, it's amphipathic, and it's L and it is not amphipathic. So whenever you see that there are two contrasting statements, you have to be sure that out of the two contrasting, one will be our answer. Okay. Third statement is the peptide is rich in disulfide. Since you can see beta mercaptophenol has no effect. If beta mercaptophenol has no effect, then the peptide cannot be rich in disulfide. This is absolutely wrong. The peptide is entirely composed of L-aromatic amino acid. So look here that the peptide is resistant to degradation by protease. So even if it's aromatic amino acid, okay. So if it's aromatic amino acid, whether it's L aromatic amino acid or L aliphatic amino acid. If it's L amino acid, okay, if it's L amino acid, then they will be degraded by protease. Okay. So come to statement 1. The peptide is entirely composed of D amino acid and it's amphipathic. So if it is amphipathic, if the peptide is amphipathic, that means what? The peptide can enter the membrane. Okay, that is why it's amphipathic. So you can see that it can lyse the red blood cells. That means it is entering the membrane and then it is lysing the red blood cells. So if the peptide can cross the membrane, then it is amphipathic. Amphipathic. So number C satisfies that the membrane is amphipathic. So this can be true. So the normal amino acid which is seen in proteins, they are L amino acid. Okay, and these L amino acid, they are sensitive by protease. They are not resistant by protease. They are sensitive by protease. But here it is said that they are resistant to protease. So if they are resistant to protease, that means they are not L amino acid. In fact, they are D amino acids. Okay, so if they are red blood cell lysis, that means they are amphipathic in nature. If they have no role on beta mercapto, if beta mercaptoethanol have no role, that means the enzyme do not have disulfide bond. Okay, so if it is not working, okay, if it is resistant to degradation by protease, then it is D amino acid, because L amino acid are not resistant to proteases. Clear? So your answer will be number 1, that the peptide is D amino acid and it is amphipathic. Question number 3 is match the column. Given below are some physiochemical properties and their manifestations in column Y. So Pauling electronegativity. Pauling electronegativity is helping in the solvation of atoms. Okay, it measures the polarity. Sorry. So Pauling electronegativity is for the solvation of atoms, and isolated pi orbital overlap. This is for restricted rotation. Okay. Aromaticity is for planarity of molecules, and dielectric constant is for separation of charge, and this dielectric constant is basically for the measurement of the polarity. If the polarity is higher, if dielectric constant is higher, the more polar the substance is. Okay, so answer will be number 3. Now the next question is, the nucleosome is a fundamental subunit of chromatin in eukaryotes. Following statements are made about nucleosome. Generally, a typical nucleosome contains around 200 base pair of DNA and 2 copies of each histone. 146 base pair length of DNA per nucleosome core particle is strictly maintained across the organism. The histone octamers are not conserved during or after replication. However, histone 3,2 and histone 4,2 tetramers are. Variants have been identified for all core histones except H3. While wrapping around the core histones, the structure of DNA is altered at the middle of the nucleosome core particle and exhibits increased number of base pair per turn. So here it is saying that which 3 options are correct. It is asking us which 3 options are correct, which 3 options are most appropriate. So first we will go with the shortest statement, that is this one. So variants have been identified for all core histones except H3. So you all know that variants are found for H3 also, not except but including H3. Variants are found for H3 also. So if you can see here it should be including. So D should be right. Okay, when there will be including. For if it's except is given, that means this is wrong. D is wrong. So this one and this one is wrong. Okay, we found out the answer, but still we will read. So next, read 146 base pair length of the DNA per nucleosome core particle is strictly maintained. Okay, so this 146 base pair length of DNA is not strictly maintained. Okay, it is not strictly maintained. Okay, so B became wrong. Next is nucleosome exhibit increase in number of base pair in the middle of nucleosome core particle. So this is also correct. The core in the during wrapping the base pairs increases. Okay, more base pairs are like they more number of base pairs they are like they are arranged in one core particle. Okay, so this is also correct that during wrapping the structure of DNA is altered in the middle of the nucleosome core particle. Okay, so E option is also correct. Next is, so E is correct. Then number C, the histone octamer are not conserved during or after replication. However, this three, which are histone H32 and histone H42 tetramers are. So this is absolutely correct statement where the histone octamers are not conserved during or after replication, but H3 and H3 and H4 tetramers they are conserved during or after replication. Okay, so C is correct. Then E also correct that during the wrapping, the structure of the DNA is altered in the middle of the nucleosome. Okay, and the number of base pair per turn increases when they are wrapped. Also, generally a typical nucleosome consists of H2A, H2B, H3 and H4. This is our basic knowledge which we all know from the very beginning. So A, C and E are correct. Okay. Next question is, A form and Z form of double-stranded DNA differ in the handedness in their helices. In their helices, nucleotide sequences and configuration of the base to sugar. Based on these properties, which one of the following statements defines a correct combination of A and Z forms of DNA? So before starting, I would like to give you a little knowledge about A, B and Z form of DNA. So A is right-handed, B is again right-handed, and Z is left-handed. Okay, A shows anti-conformation, B also shows anti-conformation, and Z shows both anti and syn conformation. Anti for pyrimidine and syn for purine. Okay, so let's read question number 1. Statement 1. Right-handed double helix and anti-configuration, right-handed and anti-configuration for the base to sugar arrangement in ADNA. So A is right and anti-correct. Left-handed double helix with alternating sequence of G and C and alternating syn and anti-configuration for the base to sugar arrangement in zDNA. So it's saying that left-handed plus anti and syn. Okay, it's seen in where? In zDNA. So this statement is correct. Next statement says right-handed double helix and syn configuration in A. Wrong. A shows anti-conformation. So this is wrong. Left-handed double helix and anti-configuration. So A is not left, A is right. This is wrong. Left-handed double helix and syn configuration. Again, this is wrong. A is right and anti. So number 1 is correct. Next question is, the interaction energy between the two opposite charges separated by 3 angstrom in vacuum is this. Interaction energy is given. Okay. the interaction energy between these two charges in water will be. For vacuum, it's given. It is asking us about the interaction energy in water. So how we will solve this? Let's start. So see, the formula is E is equals to K Q1 Q2 by RD. Okay, E is equals to K Q1 Q2 by RD. So remember the dielectric constant for air or vacuum. For air or vacuum is equals to 1, but for water, dielectric constant for water is equals to 80. Okay, so see here, and here it's given that D, which is the dielectric constant for air, is 1. And we are given that interaction energy is, here it's given that interaction energy is 500. So what we have to do, we have to find out the interaction energy for water. So here we are keeping this K Q1 Q2 by R constant. Okay, so see that E is equals to 500, which is given to us, and D, what we know for vacuum, is 1. Okay, is given that, and R given is your 3. Okay, so let's proceed in the question, and they're separated by 3 angstrom. So separation R will be 3. Just a moment. Okay, so separation R will be 3. So R will be 3, and we are keeping this K, Q1 and Q2 as constant. Okay, so let's find out the value of K, Q1 and Q2 is equals to 1500. Okay, now this is for air or vacuum. Now let's find out for water. So same formula we will apply. E is equals to K Q1 Q2 by R into D. Okay, so what is given to us, that K Q1 Q2 we have found out 1500. What is R? R is same. Okay, what is D? D is for dielectric constant of water, it's 80. So by solving this, what we will get, 3 500 0 0, what we will get is around 6 joule, 6 kilojoule. So around 6 kilojoule per mole is our answer. So answer is number 4. Also remember, the value of internal energy is minus 500. So our answer will be also in minus. Okay. Now this is a very simple question. Match the following vitamins with the corresponding physiological condition, pathological condition arising from their deficiencies. So vitamin A will be night blindness, A, C. So D, this option is incorrect. Vitamin B12 is for pernicious anemia. What is pernicious anemia? It is not enough RBC are produced. Okay, not enough RBCs are produced due to the deficiency of vitamin B12. Okay, most of the time it happens in the 35 to 50 years of age, and more in females. Okay, so 2 will be A. So 2 will be A. So A2. So this and this can be true. This is wrong. Next is vitamin D. We all know it causes ricket. Deficiency of vitamin D causes ricket, which will be 3D, and 4B. Vitamin K will be subdermal hemorrhaging. So number 1 is the correct option. Next question, which one of the following statement is true regarding amino acid? Proline has high propensity to form alpha helix in globular proteins. So proline is a alpha helix breaker. Okay, it does not form alpha helix. So this option is absolutely incorrect. Both isoleucine and threonine can exist as distereomer. Okay, so what are distereomer? These distereomers, they show mutation in one functional group. They show variation in one functional group. Okay, they have this isoleucine and threonine, they have more than one chiral position. Okay, this threonine and isoleucine, they have C alpha and C beta. That means they have two carbons which are chiral. Okay, side chain of pK of aspartic acid is more. No, side chain of pK of aspartic acid is lower than that of glutamic acid. Okay, the side dihedral angle of proline is more restricted than phi dihedral angle. Okay, so this is again incorrect. Phi dihedral angle is more restricted. Okay, so this is incorrect. Now this is also incorrect. This is also incorrect. Okay, so sorry, this is correct because isoleucine and threonine can exist as distereomers. They have two chiral carbons. Number 2 is correct. Now, this is the last question for December 2019. In a response of stress, in a form of stress response, bacteria synthesize a group of proteins called stress proteins or heat shock proteins such as DNA K, J, GRO, L, GRO, S, group E. DNA K is an ATP binding protein. The information is given to us, which attaches to the newly synthesized polypeptide in conjunction with DNA J. Okay, which one of the following statements correctly states a step in the subsequent process of protein folding? Okay, to go with the correct option, first I would like to give you the little idea about this system. So see here that this is DNA-K which binds with ATP, and this DNA-K binds with the newly synthesized polypeptide which is in black color. Now they will now bind with DNA-J. This DNA-J shows hydrolysis of ATP. Okay, this DNA-K ADP have more affinity with the polypeptide. Okay, since DNA-K ADP have more affinity, they will now assist folding. Once folding is done, then this ADP will be exchanged with ATP by nucleotide exchange factor. Okay, so DNA-K, it is holding the polypeptide tightly in the ADP bound form, very important. And DNA-J is carrying out the hydrolysis. So DNA-K ATP association with the polypeptide is loose. Okay, so see here in the question, the affinity of DNA-K to the polypeptide increases upon hydrolysis of ATP to ADP. So affinity increases when the ATP is hydrolyzed. So this seems correct. DNA-J is an exchange factor. No, DNA-J causes hydrolysis of ATP to ADP, not with ATP. Okay, it is not the exchange factor, it is the hydrolysis factor of ATP. ATP hydrolysis is required for the phosphorylation of DNA-J. No, ATP hydrolysis is required for the phosphorylation of group E. This is also incorrect. Okay, so number 1 is correct. So remember one thing, that the folding is assisted by, in bacteria and humans, the folding is assisted by chaperones. Okay, the mechanism can be by HSP70 or chaperonin. So HSP70, BIP in ER and homologue of HSP70. So see here, HSP70 unfolded polypeptide rich in hydrophobic residue. So this HSP70 will bind with the unfolded polypeptide. Okay, now when The open HSP70 complex, when it is complex with ATP, it has very low affinity with the polypeptide. DNAJ is hydrolyzing ATP, so that HSP ADP complex is formed. This ADP has having high affinity with the polypeptide. Now in bacteria, this HSP is homologous with DNA-K, and in HSP40 is homologous with DNA-J. Okay, so in eukaryotes it says HSP70 and HSP40, but in bacteria it is DNA-K and DNA-J. Okay, the group E, which interacts transiently with DNA-K in bacteria. Another type of proteins, chaperonins, where GROW-L and GROW-S mechanism is seen. GROW-L, where two large pockets are there which are formed by two heptameric rings like this, if you remember. Okay, 7 heptameric rings are there and two large pockets are there, and GROW-ES, which is a small subunit, and EL is a large subunit, and ES is also a heptamer which blocks one end of the GROW-L pocket like this. So mechanism we will be discussing in detail later. I'll make a video on that separately. So that's it. The answer will be number 1.